Hi folks! In this video we're talking about marketplace liquidity. Ultimately, liquidity is the difference between whether you have a marketplace business or not. Marketplace liquidity is the likelihood that a transaction will happen on your marketplace. We get the chance to talk to lots of successful marketplace founders and marketplace experts here at ShareTribe, and whenever the subject of liquidity comes up, almost everyone says the same thing. Liquidity isn't just a metric, it's the metric. So let's look at why liquidity is so important, how you can measure liquidity, and how you can improve the liquidity on your marketplace. In the context of marketplaces, liquidity describes how likely it is that a buyer and a seller will complete a transaction on a marketplace. So in other words, liquidity measures how well you connect the two sides of your marketplace. As marketplaces are two-sided businesses, there are two sides to liquidity too. On the seller side, when a seller creates a listing on your marketplace, is that listing likely to get sold? On the buyer side, when a buyer types something into your marketplace search, is that search likely to lead to a purchase? If an average user is likely to get the value that they're looking for out of your marketplace, you have high liquidity. If you have low liquidity, users aren't making transactions and they aren't getting value out of your marketplace. I'll quote Josh Breinlinger, who has a long track record of working at and investing in online marketplaces. And what he said about liquidity in our interview is this: as a marketplace founder, your product isn't your marketplace. Your product is liquidity. In the early stages, many marketplace founders obsess over metrics like the number of users or the number of transactions, and this is very natural. But the problem with these metrics is that they're not actionable. They don't tell you anything about what you need to do to grow and to improve your marketplace. These numbers also don't tell you anything about liquidity. So in the early stages, don't worry too much about the volume of users, and instead worry about the sell-through rate and the purchase rate. Sell-through rate is the seller-side liquidity metric. It's the percentage of listings that result in a sale within a certain time frame. The higher the sell-through rate, the higher the liquidity. Purchase rate is the buyer-side liquidity metric. It's the percentage of unique visits to your marketplace that lead to a sale. According to the marketplace expert Simon Rothman, a good goal for your purchase rate is between 30 and 60%. A third important number to mention here is the buyer-to-seller ratio. Buyer-to-seller ratio means the number of buyers one seller can serve. What your buyer-to-seller ratio is depends a lot on your market. For example, on a real estate marketplace, the ratio is 1. A single house can typically be sold to a single buyer and then it's off the market. In contrast, on a marketplace for digital assets, a single listing could serve any number of buyers. The higher your buyer-to-seller ratio is, the more you should focus on building supply in the beginning. This is because the seller brings more value to your marketplace if they can participate in multiple transactions. So the takeaway here is that a high number of transactions or users doesn't necessarily mean that the supply and demand are well matched. So to understand your liquidity, forget the crude volume of users and consider what your optimal buyer-to-seller ratio is, and then look at the sell-through rate for sellers and the purchase rate for buyers. There are many things you can do to improve your marketplace liquidity. The first piece of advice is something that I bet you've heard before if you watched any of our videos, and that is to start small. It's much easier to reach liquidity with a small initial group of users. This is why starting small has been the go-to strategy for some of today's biggest, most successful marketplaces. I'll link some interviews below with founders ranging from first-time entrepreneurs to heavyweights like Casey Winters, who helped Grubhub to get PO ready, grew Pinterest to an enormous scale, and was chief product officer at Eventbrite. And what you'll learn from all these talks is that it's not really possible to make a marketplace too small in the beginning. Because again, your product isn't your marketplace. Your product is liquidity. So it's much better to have a product with a small initial audience than have a huge audience with no product. The second strategy is to build your marketplace iteratively. Build a prototype of your marketplace and launch it to real users as early as possible. Then learn what these users need and iterate on your product based on the feedback that you get. Again, there are tons of inspiring stories where founders have started a marketplace with basically nothing more than a spreadsheet and a simple website. And I'll link some of them below as well. Finally, take liquidity into account in your overall growth strategy. When you plan your marketplace growth playbook, remember that your success depends on how well you can maintain liquidity. As Katri explains in her video about scaling a marketplace, it's a good idea to grow your marketplace gradually and aim at reaching liquidity in each new market or category before expanding your reach. It's also important to consider your optimal buyer-to-seller ratio when you plan your user acquisition strategy. So, to wrap up, liquidity indicates the likelihood that a transaction will happen on your marketplace. High liquidity means that buyers are likely to find what they're looking for and sellers are likely to sell what they list. Therefore, the lack of liquidity would mean that your marketplace isn't providing value to users. It's much easier to reach liquidity with a small initial user base. That's why it's a very common strategy for marketplaces to start small and grow and expand iteratively. I hope you found this helpful. If you'd like to see a similar breakdown for another marketplace concept or metric, you can share your thoughts below in the comments.